Empires don't always fall to thunder. Sometimes they fade in silence, not with banners torn down, but with certainty worn thin. Britain feels less like a defeated empire and more like a lion that has grown unsure of its own shadow. Not slain and not yet conquered, just hesitant. In the wild, hesitation is noticed. A wounded lion does not receive sympathy. It receives distance at first, then curiosity, then pressure. Hyenas do not hate the lion. They simply understand timing. They circle, they measure, they wait for the moment the king looks away. Because nature does not moralize strength, it measures it. And once the measuring begins, it rarely ends quietly. There was a time when the lion did not measure itself at all. It did not explain its roar. It did not soften its stance. It did not ask whether it deserved its ground. It stood, and the plains adjusted. Britain once stood like that, not flawless, not gentle, but certain. And certainty, more than fleets and more than flags, is what commands respect. Decline rarely arrives as an invasion. It arrives as introspection. The lion grows older, scarred, reflective. But something subtler begins to erode it. It begins to question its nature. Was dominance immoral? Was hierarchy unjust? Was authority merely disguised as cruelty? Strength becomes something to apologize for. Power becomes something to justify. And boundaries become something to negotiate. And negotiation in competitive environments has limits. A lion persuaded that standing tall is morally suspect will eventually crouch. And once it crouches, others will rise. In nature, weakness is not debated, it is tested. Hyenas do not draft manifestos, they probe, they edge closer, they look for that hesitation. Not because they're necessarily evil, but they're opportunistic. Nature does not punish weakness, it reallocates territory. And territory, once surrendered through doubt, is rarely restored through discussion. This was once an island that ruled the waves. Now it debates whether it should guard its own shores. Not because it lacks capacity, but because it lacks conviction. And there is a difference. A lion without its claws is tragic. A lion with claws that refuses to use them is confusing. And confusion always invites challenge. Despite the sentiment, Britain was not conquered. It reconsidered itself. Guilt replaced confidence. Self-suspicion replaced instinct. Power was reframed as something inherently suspect. Hierarchy becomes uncomfortable. Authority became something to decentralize. The lion did not lose its teeth. It lost faith in its right to bear them. And belief, once eroded, is harder to reclaim than territory. But here's the part that history whispers. A wounded lion is still a lion. Instincts do not disappear, and memory does not dissolve. Capacity does not vanish. It waits. Civilizations rarely disappear quietly. They either fade into irrelevance or they remember. And when they remember, they do not hold committees. They stand. The question is not whether Britain can roar. It can. The question is whether it still believes it has the right to. Because in the wild, and in history, respect is not granted permanently. It is maintained. And once the testing begins, it does not stop out of kindness. It only stops when the lion stands again. The lion does not need to roar constantly, but it must never forget how to.